Year! 2021 has arrived. Welcome back to the Hesitant Homesteader, and it is a cold January night, but we are here to talk about seeds and getting your garden around for the springtime.
We are. You don't really think about it right now normally, that this is when you should be starting to think about and order your seeds for springtime. So we got catalogs in the mail.
We did.
Getting ahead of the game this year.
A few things that we took into consideration, maybe share our thoughts from how our garden went last year. You may have watched our video for our homestead for Chuck and Joanna. Last year was our first garden ever, and we had a lot of fun with that, but we learned a few things that we'll be incorporating into this year. So we're going to take that into account when we order our seeds as we plant our garden.
So I think we're going to start, let's just chat for a minute maybe about choosing the size of your garden. We both have pretty different sizes right now, different scales of how big of a space that we allow for growing food. Both of us have plans this year that we want to expand that space. So I think that's kind of the first thing. You want to sit down and just kind of evaluate how much room you have, what your end goals are.
Yeah, what your needs are. We're just a family of 4. This is a family of 8. So
yeah, we have a lot more that we need to produce. You need to also think about whether you want to have food that you can preserve, or if you're going to just have enough to eat throughout the summer, just a snack. I have friends that garden that simply just want zucchini so that they can make zucchini bread. So you just kind of have to determine how much of that you need. We, I think, are finding that we need a lot more than what we have been producing. So, while we're talking about space, I think it's important to realize that you don't have to have this big, massive area to be able to grow food. We do have the ability out here to grow quite a bit. But if you live in town or you have smaller acreage or anything like that, don't be hesitant to grow things. I think that you could even get pots and grow things in that. You could do some raised beds.
go vertical.
Go vertical, yeah. There's all kinds of things that you can do so that you can still grow food on your own.
So something else to consider is space. How much space you have, whether you have enough freezer space, storage for canned goods. And that is a struggle that we do have right now. We're trying to figure out where to put some extra things. So yeah, just considering what options you have when you have the food from your garden and where to put it would be helpful.
Yeah, plan ahead, because last gardening season, towards the end of it, it got almost impossible to find canning lids. You couldn't find chest freezers.
Yeah.
So
anything to preserve food was harder to come by.
yeah, that's what kind of got us into doing some dehydrating and trying to do that a little bit too, and using a food saver vacuum sealer. Something else when you think about that will impact when you're ordering seeds and thinking about the size of your garden. If you've maybe never heard of it, it's called succession planning, and there's a couple of different meanings behind that. Basically, it's replacing something in your garden once it's done with something else. So that's one way, is basically like filling in the gaps. So if early in the spring you do a whole bed of lettuce, and you know that when the temperatures get hot, that lettuce is not going to be reseeded, then don't let that ground stay wasted. You could have a pretty good sized bed. You say, oh, I could put something in there that's got a shorter growing season that I can still have something productive there. You might, put like bush beans in or something like that. So that's one kind of succession planning. The other one is you want to stagger how much you harvest. So you might have a bed that's like, my beds were about 3 feet by 12 feet. But if I want to have a prolonged harvest, say of beans again, or whatever, lettuce, I'm going to stagger it. And so I might plant a certain size, like maybe a fourth of that bed wait for 2 weeks, plant another fourth of it, so on and so forth, so that you have a continual harvest. Because if you don't do that, you can end up, well, on one end, with having like just a bunch of overabundance because you planted it all at once, and then it goes to waste, and you wasted your time and your money.
The
on
other
that.
side of it, though, is that if you are planning to can, you might want all of it to come in
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes.
So if you stagger your beans and you're getting a handful here and there, that becomes really complicated for canning. So if you're planning to put things away into jars and store them away, probably do the opposite of that.
Yeah, but I would just recommend, like, I'm bringing it up because on our first garden, I couldn't like get my head wrapped around it. It was just everything that we could manage to get the garden beds prepared, which was a lot of thought, getting everything ready to go. And as the summer went along, I was like, man, I saw all the wasted space, and then we would eat through something, and I'm like, oh man, I wish we had more of that. I wish I would have done that. It can be complicated, so what I would recommend, I found a very helpful spreadsheet that's free. If you go to Johnny's Seed Company, Johnny Select Seeds, go under their resources, and they actually have like a little spreadsheet calculator. You have to have Excel. There's other ones online where they have like a Google Doc, or they might just have a template you can print out, but it basically will guide you through that, and it makes it a lot easier.
I found an app that's called Seed to Spoon, and it's really helpful too. That will tell you which things should be going in the ground early, and then what things go in later. It tells you what their germination time is and their growing times, and all of that is kind of all into one app. There's a lot of information in there. I thought it was super helpful.
But your seed packets, I mean, most of the time, if you get from a good company, they'll have how many weeks before, you know, it's going to take. So you kind of find when you get your first frost typically, and then you just back up that many days.
I will say it's important to write those dates down. First couple of years, I just thought, oh, I'll plant in another couple of weeks. Well, those couple of weeks go by pretty quickly, and I just wouldn't pay that close of attention. And I'd be like, shoot, those were supposed to go in the ground a month ago, or, you know, whatever, I just forget. So even setting a reminder on your phone, or having like a calendar where you just jot down like, oh, I'm going to plant more carrot seeds, or I'm going to put my cucumbers in the ground on this date. I think that's helpful.
Did you give up on carrots?
I planted carrots probably 5 times.
Last year.
I have been researching it, and I am questioning if our compost was still too hot, based on what I'm reading. If it just, because carrots are really fickle and they're hard to get to actually sprout and to germinate. So I think that at least in that one bed, that was fairly new compost. I'm wondering if that was our problem.
I mean, our soil is all different. So where we live is very, very sandy because we were Lake Erie at one time. We were actually the beach where our house is. So we're really, really sandy, and that makes it a little bit difficult sometimes.
Even your soil, though, they're not very far from us. Their soil is very different from ours.
Yeah, we were 31 feet underwater at some point.
That's crazy.
Swamp.
Right now, the lake is what, an hour and a half from us, an hour and 15 minutes it takes us to get to Lake Erie. So just the fact that we were underwater is weird.
Yeah.
But that all plays into your soil types, which is another thing. You're really, especially if you're just getting started, you're really going to want to learn about the different soil types. Maybe you don't want to go to the extent on your first, trial run with your garden. Maybe you don't want to go to the extent of sending out soil samples to testing labs and stuff like that. But that is an option. The more serious you get, the more involved you get, that is an option. But there's a lot you can know about your soil just by your own individual tests. Just by grabbing it and feeling it, squeezing it when it's moist, when it's dry, and you can learn a lot about your soil just by working with it.
I think that another important thing for me anyways, has been to get heirloom seeds so that I can save them. I'm not very good at saving seeds yet, admittedly, but I would like to be.
Me too.
So,
Yeah, I wanted to save a lot of seeds, but
I did some.
We save certain types, like squash and stuff is very easy to save.
Yeah, some
So
of it,
those get
some of it,
saved.
like the actual process of saving is more complicated. And so when I'm in the midst of like, oh my gosh, I have to preserve all of this food, and I had a new baby, and it's like there was a lot going on.
you
and
could do
so
one more thing.
I tried.
Come on.
But that was one thing that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let seed saving go on a couple of these different things because I couldn't do it all.
Yeah.
An heirloom, like opposed to a hybrid seed or genetically modified seeds. We don't want to get too much in the weeds with it, but heirloom seeds are like open pollinated. They've been around a long time. It's like the natural way that plants exist. So if you take the seeds from that squash plant and you preserve them properly, you can plant those and you're going to have that same squash plant. Hybrid seeds, you can't do that with. And we just don't want to eat anything genetically modified. We want to eat I want to plant things the way that God made them to be, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of friends that have already asked me where do I get my seeds from. So that's not really a super simple answer for me because I've gotten them from a lot of places. I think this year I got a lot from M.I. Gardner. I have a lot from Baker Creek, but then we also came across some local places. So I'm in some Facebook groups online for like regional gardeners and homesteaders. Like I'm in a group that's just Ohio, and so I was informed of a company that's just family owned. There's another one by the Amish country, so we're gonna check those out this year too.
We also visited that seed exchange.
Yeah, that
which is not what I expected, but it was very interesting.
I didn't know what to expect at a seed exchange like that. How that was
look
done.
for our video on it. The sound
It
quality
was really bad sound.
was bad because it was in a huge
Like an
gymnasium.
auditorium, yeah.
A seed exchange is basically like in a local area, a club or an organization organizes it, and everybody comes and you bring seeds that you have that you want to sell or trade or swap. And like we walked in there with nothing, and
We came home with like bags
came home
full
with
of
tons of
seeds.
seeds. It was a blast because it was like they held it in wintertime, and it was kind of like just cold, and you're in the thick of winter, and then you go into this gym and it was just like hundreds of people, and it was full of commotion and noise, and everybody had like all these tables of seeds and people
I
doing
expected there to be like
demonstrations.
3 tables,
Well,
and there
yeah.
was the whole gym was full.
I wonder if
They
it's
had,
canceled this year.
I don't know.
Companies that had displays of products that that they sell, so that was kind of
It was cool.
It
We
was
made
really
some
neat.
cool connections too with people that are in our area.
So check that out. If check your local area for seed exchanges and those presentations and stuff that are put on. A lot of times the actual event is free. You may have to bring some seeds to exchange. Just depends on what the setup is.
I'm excited to get seeds from this Ohio-based company
Yeah.
because I've always bought seeds. Always, like 1 year.
All one
One
year.
year.
Oh, 1 year. But yeah, it was like in the past though. Before I did buy seeds, wanting to have a garden, I didn't do it, but
Yes, that's
I had
true. So you
seeds
bought seeds twice.
from Baker Creek because their catalog's awesome and they have weird stuff in it, which is really fun.
Right, it's like you can't let Baker Creek go because you have to have it just to look at the pictures because it's so pretty. But
Yeah.
that's where you want to get all of your unique things from.
Yeah, they have
for
stuff
sure.
that nobody else has, and if you
Yeah.
just want to like try something crazy from halfway across the world,
A giant carrot.
yeah, I mean they got like these carrots that grow like 2-3 feet long. I'm like, I have to try that. But my
I didn't even
thinking,
get a normal carrot to grow.
Say, our
Big
character
ones will grow for you.
yeah,
I'll only be able to
if
get
it's that big and you grow it bad, it might be like normal.
I'll
So,
say that's
All
true.
6 kids can eat it at the same time.
yeah. But
If I grow a carrot that big, all 6 will for an Instagram picture. All of them eating it. Totally spilling it.
And when you get your seeds, where should you store them?
Dun dun dun. All right, so far,
Here's some examples.
I shall show you. So far, I have been storing my seeds in cigar boxes, which has been great, except that now, look how many seed boxes I have.
Stack them up.
They keep
We
coming.
think Jenna's got a problem.
I might like seeds. And really, if you open, I mean, there's like a lot of seeds in there. So
Ours is
these
in
are
there.
full. All right, so my boxes are getting a little cumbersome to say the least. I'm like going out to the garden and carrying this big sack plus all my gardening tools. It's a little ridiculous. Chuck has his in this big glass container, which no organization at all, I
Yeah,
must
I'm
say.
gonna step it up.
They're all just
Bad.
thrown in here. So today, this is my new plan. Somebody on a Facebook group that I'm in recommended this little gadget from Hobby Lobby. So this is actually considered a photo storage case. So it has all of these little individual containers in here. And I'm going to organize them by all of my different vegetables and put some little labels on there.
Nerd alert. Nerd alert.
I'm gonna use my label maker. And this is gonna be all organized. My carrots are gonna go in the orange.
Nice.
So I'll be curious how much I can actually fit in there out of my boxes, because I also have, clearly I have a seed problem, but I also have this giant bag of lots more seeds that I already ordered. So
You're
I have a lot to fit in there, but this is gonna be so much better, just carrying it out
Yeah,
there.
I like it.
Yeah,
Look at that. Got another
Nice.
hand for my
Pretty
tools.
pretty fancy.
I like it.
There we go. All right, I think that's it. Anybody else have anything?
No, just get out there and do it.
That's right.
I regretted waiting as long as we did. This kind of gets built
Yeah.
up in your mind. You think, it's like, you know what? You don't have to do it perfect. Get out there,
It's not gonna be
cultivate some
No.
soil, plant some seeds, put some water on it,
Yeah.
and just learn and just start small and kind of make it your own. And it made our family enjoy summer more than we have before.
Yes.
'Cause
It was super exciting to see what came out every
It
day.
is. It's fun.